some time the erosion has been very severe, and the bank used to drop down at almost 10 metres, and every time we got a rise in the river or a small flood, it'd start undercutting underneath, and then more and more land would disappear. We've probably lost between 5 and 10 acres in 40 years, I suppose, just gone down the river.
In the case of the Carters, we've had multiple generations of people witnessing that bank disappearing at an alarming rate. And Steve and Ruth, who are the current generation today, knew they had to do something about it, which is where that goodwill's come from.
We've worked in this area for a long time, and we've had limited resources, and that's where the Carters started here. They had some cat's claws, so we had some projects with those guys over a number of years, and always coming down and looking at this riverbank and saying, oh, what can we do with this? You know, they fenced it off, but you know, it still keeps eating away every flood.
We've been able to get enough funding through the Regional Land Partnerships program from the Australian Government to be able to successfully deliver this project, which prior to that had always been in the too hard basket.
The Carters site was a really active section of riverbank. It was really steep and it was collapsing in itself. We needed to reduce the slope of the bank, so we undertook earthworks to create a gentler slope, and then used timber piles along the toe to slow down the velocity, which protected the revegetation works on the gentle sloping bank. Over time, these timber piles will potentially rot away, but hopefully gives enough time for the vegetation to grow on the bank and provide that long-term stabilisation.
The landholder is really necessary for the survival of that project, is critical, and it's absolutely essential because they need to keep their cattle off the site. So the fence monitoring and repairing after floods is just so critical. So they're on the ground every day. They need to be looking at the trees and the weeds and knowing when it needs watering and when it needs maintaining. So the landholder are the eyes on the ground and the doers really.
Here at the Carters site, we'd lost roughly over 300,000 cubic metres of sediment and dirt since about the 1950s. I remember personally standing here on my first site inspection and seeing large columns of dirt fall into the river. We were losing 5,500 cubic metres of soil every year, and we've managed to get that down to about 550 cubic metres a year, which is a huge saving of roughly 90%.
I was out here last wet season during a flow event. You could see the slow velocity water flowing through the timber piles, and now when you look at the vegetation on the banks, it's doing fantastic.
We think it's fantastic. And it looks nice, and we look after it and we irrigate it, and the trees are growing beautifully, but it's also doing an awful lot for the river, and from the point of view of the barrier reef. Every time we come down here, Ruth and I get very excited about it because all the trees they're really starting to grow now. Once the trees grow up, we'll have a big forest, which is what it was like in the old days, probably 200 years ago before the white settlers came.
It's very exciting to see this changed. To see it like this now and to see the incredible growth after a year is really uplifting. It's very, it's joyous, I guess.
Our family came over from Dalby. We've got 2 grandchildren, and we came down and we set up a picnic table and had a lovely picnic here. It was just nice sitting here on the riverbank and enjoying it.